Sophia never imagined that the same uncle who used to lift her onto his shoulders as a child would one day be the person she feared being alone with. The night they shared a bed during a family event changed everything. It shattered everything she thought she knew about trust. What happened in that room wasn't just a moment of discomfort. It was the beginning of a realization that would turn her entire world upside down. Before we go deeper, please like this video so YouTube pushes this awareness story to more people who might need to hear it. Sophia Martinez was 23 years old when her life changed forever. She was the kind of person everyone loved having around. Bright smile, quick to laugh, always the first to volunteer when someone needed help. She worked as a dental assistant in Portland, Oregon, and still lived close to her parents, close enough to drop by for Sunday dinners and help her mom with the garden on weekends. Family meant everything to Sophia. Her childhood had been filled with birthday parties where relatives drove in from all over the state, Christmas gatherings that stretched late into the night, and summer barbecues where her dad grilled burgers while uncles and aunts caught up on lawn chairs in the backyard. It was the kind of upbringing that felt safe, solid, like nothing could ever go wrong. Among all those relatives, one stood out: Uncle Oliver. He wasn't her biological uncle, but her father's best friend since college. Oliver had been around for as long as Sophia could remember. He was there when she learned to ride a bike. He was there at her high school graduation, cheering louder than anyone else. He always knew how to make her laugh. He'd bring her books he thought she'd like, send her funny memes on her birthday, check in when she had a tough week. Sophia trusted him completely. Everyone did. Oliver Thompson was 48 years old, charming in that effortless way some people are. He had a warm voice, an easy laugh, and a way of making you feel like you were the most important person in the room. He worked in sales, traveled a lot for work, but he always made time for Sophia's family. He'd show up at family events with gifts, stories from his trips, and that big grin that made everyone feel welcome. Sophia's dad called Oliver his brother. They'd been through everything together: college roommates, best men at each other's weddings, godfathers to each other's kids. When Sophia was younger, Oliver used to take her to the park, push her on the swings, buy her ice cream. He was the cool uncle who let her stay up late watching movies when he babysat, who taught her card tricks, who listened when she talked about school drama. As she grew older, that relationship stayed strong. When Sophia struggled in her first year of college, Oliver was the one who called her every week to check in. When she wasn't sure about her career path, he sat down with her over coffee and helped her think through her options. He was supportive, present, someone she could count on. Her parents adored him. Her younger brother looked up to him. In Sophia's mind, Oliver was family in the truest sense. She never questioned his intentions. She never had a reason to. Looking back, she realizes now that he built that trust carefully, over many years. That he was always there, always helpful, always kind. That's what made what happened next so devastating. It was late September when Sophia's cousin Emma got married. The wedding was in a small town about 3 hours outside Portland, a beautiful venue surrounded by vineyards and rolling hills. It was one of those weddings where everyone in the family was invited, and almost everyone showed up. Sophia's parents had booked a large vacation rental for the weekend, a sprawling house with enough rooms for most of the family. But as relatives started arriving, it became clear they'd miscalculated. More people came than expected. Cousins brought their kids, aunts and uncles who'd said maybe suddenly showed up. By Friday night, the house was packed. Sleeping arrangements turned into a puzzle. Kids were camped out on air mattresses in the living room, couples took the bedrooms, grandparents got the master suite. People were doubling up, sharing couches, making do. Sophia had planned to share a room with her cousin, but that cousin's toddler ended up needing the space, so plans shifted. That's when Oliver offered. He had been given one of the smaller guest rooms with a queen-sized bed. He said he didn't mind sharing, that it was no big deal. Sophia's mom thought it was sweet of him. Her dad clapped Oliver on the shoulder and thanked him for being flexible. Sophia didn't think twice about it. This was Uncle Oliver, the man who'd known her since she was a baby, the man her family trusted completely. Sharing a bed felt no different than crashing on a relative's couch. It was practical, innocent, necessary given the circumstances. That night, after the rehearsal dinner, everyone was exhausted. Sophia brushed her teeth, changed into sweatpants and a t-shirt, and climbed into bed. Oliver was already there, scrolling through his phone. He said goodnight. She said goodnight back. She turned to the wall, pulled the blanket up, and closed her eyes. Everything felt normal, safe, familiar. Sophia doesn't remember what time it was when she woke up. The room was dark. The house was quiet. Everyone else was asleep. At first, she wasn't sure what woke her. Then she felt it. A presence. Too close. She was lying on her side, facing the wall, and she could feel Oliver behind her. Too close. Close enough that she could feel his breath on her neck. Close enough that his body was pressed against her. She froze. Her heart started pounding so hard she thought he'd hear it. Her mind raced trying to make sense of what was happening. Maybe he'd rolled over in his sleep. Maybe he didn't realize. Maybe she was overreacting. But then she felt his arm. It was draped over her waist, heavy, deliberate. His hand resting on her stomach in a way that didn't feel accidental. She held her breath. She didn't move. She was terrified that if she moved, if she acknowledged what was happening, it would become real. She lay there frozen, her entire body tense. Seconds felt like hours. Her mind was screaming at her to do something, to say something, but her body wouldn't respond. She felt trapped. And then she felt his hand move. Just slightly. Just enough. That's when something inside her snapped. She jerked away, sat up quickly, her heart hammering in her chest. She didn't look at him. She couldn't. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand and stood up, her legs shaky. She mumbled something about needing to use the bathroom, her voice barely a whisper. She walked out of the room, down the hallway, and locked herself in the bathroom. She sat on the floor, her back against the door, trying to catch her breath. Her hands were trembling. She felt sick, confused, scared. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know what had just happened. But she knew, deep down, that something was very, very wrong. Sophia didn't go back to that room. She spent the rest of the night on the couch in the living room, curled up under a throw blanket, staring at the ceiling. She didn't sleep. Her mind wouldn't stop racing. She kept replaying what happened, kept questioning herself. Was she overreacting? Had he really done what she thought he did? Maybe he was asleep. Maybe it was an accident. But even as she tried to rationalize it, she knew. She knew it wasn't an accident. She knew how it felt. When morning came, the house came alive. People were getting ready for the wedding, showers running, coffee brewing, kids laughing. Sophia forced herself to get up, to act normal. She went through the motions, smiling when she needed to, nodding when people talked to her. She avoided Oliver. Every time she saw him across the room, her stomach twisted. But he acted like nothing had happened. He was his usual self. Laughing, chatting with her dad, helping carry things to the car. He didn't look at her differently.
He didn't seem uncomfortable. He was completely, disturbingly normal. At one point during breakfast, he walked past her and smiled. "Morning, Soph," he said casually. She couldn't respond. She just looked down at her plate. Her mom asked if she was feeling okay. She said she was just tired. The wedding was beautiful. Sophia sat through the ceremony, stood for photos, danced at the reception, but the whole time she felt like she was watching her life from outside her body. She couldn't focus, she couldn't be present. Every time she saw Oliver, she felt a wave of panic. She made sure she was never alone with him. She stuck close to her cousins, to her brother, to anyone who could act as a buffer. By the end of the night, she was exhausted, not from the wedding, but from the constant gnawing anxiety. When they finally left the venue, Sophia insisted on riding back with her parents instead of staying another night. She said she had work in the morning. She lied. She just needed to get out of that house. She needed to get away from him. The days after the wedding were some of the hardest of Sophia's life. She went back to work, went through her routines, but everything felt different. She couldn't stop thinking about that night. She couldn't stop feeling his arm around her waist, his breath on her neck. It made her skin crawl. She started having trouble sleeping. Every time she closed her eyes, she was back in that room. She'd wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing, feeling like she couldn't breathe. She started avoiding her family's group chats. Her mom would text asking how she was doing, and Sophia would send back short, polite responses. She couldn't tell them. How could she? Oliver was practically family. He was her dad's best friend. Everyone loved him. Who would believe her? And what would she even say? That he held her while they were sleeping? That he made her uncomfortable? It didn't sound like enough. It didn't sound serious. She started questioning herself more and more. Maybe she was making a big deal out of nothing. Maybe she was being dramatic. But then she'd remember how it felt, and she'd know. She wasn't imagining it. She wasn't overreacting. Something had happened. She started withdrawing. Her friends noticed. Her coworker asked if she was okay. She said she was fine. She wasn't fine. She felt like she was drowning. One night, sitting alone in her apartment, she searched online. She typed in things like feeling unsafe with family member and trusted relative made me uncomfortable. She found stories. So many stories. Women talking about experiences that sounded just like hers. Women who'd been touched by uncles, family friends, people they trusted. Women who'd been told they were overreacting, who'd been made to feel like it was their fault. Reading those stories broke something open in her. She wasn't alone. This wasn't in her head. What happened to her had a name. It was abuse. 2 weeks after the wedding, Sophia went to her parents' house for Sunday dinner. She almost didn't go. The thought of running into Oliver there made her feel sick, but he wasn't there that day, and she felt like she could breathe a little easier. After dinner, she was helping her mom clean up in the kitchen when her younger cousin, 12-year-old Maya, came in. Maya was quiet, a little shy, but she'd always been close with Sophia. Maya hesitated in the doorway, then said something that made Sophia's blood run cold. "Soph, can I ask you something?" Maya said softly. Sophia nodded. "Is it okay if I don't want to be alone with Uncle Oliver?" Maya asked. She looked down at her hands. "He's always really nice, but sometimes he makes me feel weird, like he hugs me for too long or asks me to sit on his lap. I told my mom, but she said he's just being affectionate." Sophia felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. She put down the dish she was holding and knelt down so she was at eye level with Maya. "You're allowed to feel that way," Sophia said, her voice steady, even though her heart was racing. "If someone makes you uncomfortable, even if they're family, you don't have to be alone with them. Okay?" Maya nodded, looking relieved. Sophia's mom called Maya from the other room, and the girl left. But Sophia stayed there, kneeling on the kitchen floor, feeling like she couldn't move. It wasn't just her. Oliver had done this to someone else, maybe more than one person. If you're still watching, type "I'm here" in the comments. Your engagement helps spread awareness to others. That night, Sophia called her best friend Rachel. They'd known each other since high school, and Rachel was the one person Sophia felt like she could tell anything. But even with Rachel, she was terrified. She didn't know how to start. She didn't know if Rachel would believe her. They met for coffee the next day. Sophia was shaking as she sat down. Rachel could tell something was wrong. "Talk to me," she said gently. "What's going on?" Sophia took a breath and told her. She told her about the wedding, about sharing the bed, about waking up and feeling trapped. She told her about Maya. She told her how she'd been feeling, the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the constant questioning. When she finished, she looked down at her hands, waiting for Rachel's reaction. Rachel reached across the table and took Sophia's hand. "Soph, that's not okay," Rachel said firmly. "What he did to you, that's not okay. You didn't imagine it. You didn't overreact. That was wrong." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. She hadn't realized how much she needed to hear that. Rachel's validation, her belief, her anger on Sophia's behalf, it made everything feel real in a way that it hadn't before. "You need to tell someone," Rachel said firmly. "Your parents, someone in your family. Because if he did this to you, and if he's making Maya uncomfortable, he might be doing it to others." Sophia nodded. even though the thought terrified her. She knew Rachel was right. Staying silent was protecting the wrong person. It was protecting Oliver, and he didn't deserve that protection. It took Sophia 3 more days to work up the courage. She kept thinking about Maya. She kept thinking about how many other kids might be in danger. She couldn't let her fear keep her silent. She asked her mom to meet her for lunch, just the two of them. Her mom thought it was just a casual catch-up. But as soon as they sat down, her mom could tell something was wrong. "Honey, what's going on?" her mom asked, concern written all over her face. Sophia's hands were shaking. She took a breath and said, "Mom, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen. Something happened at Emma's wedding, with Uncle Oliver." Her mom's face changed. Confusion, then worry. "Sophia, what are you talking about?" So Sophia told her. She told her everything. The sleeping arrangement, waking up, how he'd been pressed against her, his arm around her waist. She told her how she'd felt, how she'd been struggling since. She told her about Maya. When she finished, her mom was silent. She looked like she'd been punched. Then she started crying. Sophia had never seen her mom cry like that. "I'm so sorry," her mom whispered. "I'm so sorry. I never would have let you share that bed if I thought you weren't safe." That weekend, her parents called a family meeting. Sophia wasn't there for it, but her mom told me what happened. Her dad confronted Oliver, her dad who'd considered Oliver his best friend for over 30 years. Oliver denied it first, said Sophia must have misunderstood, that he'd just been asleep. But when they brought up Maya, when they asked him directly if he'd ever made Maya uncomfortable, he got defensive. He got angry. He said people were making something out of nothing. But the more he talked, things started to unravel. Other relatives started speaking up. One aunt said her daughter had mentioned years ago that Oliver made her uncomfortable, but she'd brushed it off.
Another cousin said she'd always found it weird how Oliver insisted on hugging the younger girls in the family, how his hugs lasted too long. Piece by piece, a pattern emerged. Oliver wasn't invited to family events anymore. Sophia's dad cut off contact completely. It broke his heart. He'd lost his best friend, but he'd learned that his best friend wasn't the person he thought he was. The months that followed were hard. Sophia started therapy. Her therapist specialized in trauma, and for the first time, Sophia started to understand what had happened to her. She learned about grooming, about how abusers build trust over years, how they select victims who are vulnerable, who trust them, who won't be believed. She learned that what happened to her wasn't her fault, that freezing in that moment was a normal trauma response, that her body had been trying to protect her. She learned about boundaries, about how to recognize when someone was crossing them. She learned that she had the right to say no, to protect herself, to trust her instincts. It wasn't easy. There were days when she felt angry, days when she felt ashamed, days when she felt like she was falling apart. But slowly, she started to feel like herself again. She started sleeping better. She started feeling safer. She started believing that she was strong. She also started talking. She joined a support group for survivors of sexual abuse. Hearing other people's stories, sharing her own, it helped her feel less alone. She wasn't broken. She was healing. She started educating herself. She read articles about how common abuse by family members is, how most children who experience abuse know their abuser, how staying silent only protects predators. She learned that 34% of child sexual abuse cases involve family members. She learned that 93% of abusers know their victims. She learned that what happened to her happened to so many others. And she decided she wanted to help. She started volunteering with an organization that provided support to survivors. She started speaking at events about recognizing grooming behaviors, about trusting your instincts, about the importance of believing children when they say they're uncomfortable. She became passionate about prevention, about making sure other people didn't go through what she did, about making sure other Mayas were protected. Today, Sophia is 26. She's still in therapy. She still has hard days, but she's also strong in a way she never knew she could be. She's no longer afraid to speak up. She's no longer afraid to trust herself.
She knows that what happened to her wasn't her fault. She knows that Oliver's actions were his responsibility, not hers. And she knows that by speaking out, by refusing to stay silent, she's helped protect others. Maya is okay. She's a teenager now, and she's never had to be alone with Oliver again. She's safe, and Sophia knows that matters. Sophia wants other people to know something important. Abuse doesn't always look the way we think it does. It's not always violent. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's gradual. Sometimes it comes from the people we trust most. And that's what makes it so dangerous. If you've ever felt unsafe with someone, even someone you're supposed to trust, even someone everyone else loves, your feelings are valid. You're not imagining it. You're not overreacting. Trust yourself. Speak up. Tell someone. And if you're the person someone tells, believe them. Don't brush it off. Don't make excuses for the abuser. Listen, act, protect. Because staying silent protects the wrong people. If this story helped you understand something important, please like, comment, and share. And subscribe for more awareness stories. Someone out there may need this message today. And before we end, I want to ask you something. How would you feel if this happened to you or to someone you love? What would you do? Let us know in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going. Because the more we talk about this, the more we break the silence, the safer our communities become. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for caring.